Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. I have been looking for an aftermarket bumper for my Tacoma over here to armor it up a little bit more. So when 4-Wheel Parts came out with their new line of Tacoma products, I was so stoked to know that they came out with a new front bumper. And to make things even better, I was even more stoked when they actually reached out to me to send over one of their front bumpers to make a video and show you guys. So I'm so excited for today's video because we're going to be talking about the all-new 4-Wheel Parts low-profile Tacoma front bumper. I'm going to be talking about all of its cool features. I'm going to show it to you guys in more detail, and I'm going to talk about why I think this bumper is awesome if you're looking for an aftermarket bumper solution for your Tacoma like I was. So first off, here are some shots of what the bumper looks like from all sorts of angles. It's made of steel and powder coated black. It's 80 pounds, so it is pretty heavy, but I did measure the height of the front of my truck before and after. Both times it measured just over 36 inches from the ground to the bottom of the fender flare, so I didn't see any real change. So it fits in this section of the bumper right here, and previously inside this section of the bumper there was this black plastic piece, or the valance cover as it's called. So basically the 4-Wheel Parts bumper just kind of covers up that valance piece and adds an additional bull bar to give you a little bit more protection for your grille. So it's a very similar look to stock in terms of an aftermarket steel bumper. Now it's probably really obvious, but there's a lot of different holes and cutouts around here, so let me explain how modular and how awesome I think this front bumper is. So first off, you have two 2-inch square cutouts for some little cube lights. Now the cube lights that I have on right now are actually just placeholders that aren't even wired up. These are lights from ProComp that fit really nicely and actually look really good in this front bumper. However, as many of you know who watch my channel frequently, I am a huge fan of Baja designs. So the plan is to get a set of Baja design squadrons, which are the exact same light as what's in my fog light, except it's a different housing and a different mount, and put those in these cutouts instead. They mount kind of the same way that ditch lights do inside the bumper. You can see more details of how to install lights like these in the installation portion of this video, but that's what these are for now until I get a set of my Baja Designs squadrons, which I'm really excited about. Now in the center of the bumper, you can probably see there is a gigantic hole right here, and this is a spot for a winch. They advertise that you can put one that's rated up to 12,000 pounds in here, which is really cool. And I'd like to put a winch in here, but as annoying as this may sound to some of you, I also want to run my front license plate, which doesn't completely cover the hole, but it goes over the hole. I live in California where front license plates are required, and the only reason that I'm so picky about it is because I've gotten a ticket on my old car for not having a front license plate here. So I'm trying to avoid the same thing with the truck. I know there's flip-up license plate covers that you can get that will allow me to run a winch at the same time, so I am looking into those. But yeah, for now, no winch, just a license plate, unfortunately, which are these two holes over here, but maybe one day we'll put a winch in there. Now, like I just said, these two holes are for the license plate. So what are these two holes? So these two holes are exactly where the 4WP logo fits into. As you can see, there is a nut and a washer, and it kind of just feeds behind the bumper. And so this is removable. If you do run a license plate, you do have to take this off, but if you want to keep it on, you can obviously do that in this section over here. Speaking of logos, there is one more 4-Wheel Parts logo down here. It's kind of hidden. You can't really see it unless you're looking underneath the truck. This is a logo that's cut out at the bottom, and it has this gray cement backing plate on it. What's cool about this is if you have kind of a certain color theme you're going with your truck, as you can see, I kind of have a red color theme going on with mine. You can take out this plate and paint it, and then that color will obviously pop against the 4-Wheel Parts logo. Since I already have red from the TRD, I think I'm gonna leave this as is. I think it looks really good. You can also just take it out, and I think the logo won't be as visible because it'll just be like all black. But yeah, there's a plate back there that you can change. Moving up top, there are two slots up here which were designed so that you can put a 20-inch light bar, underneath the bull bar and above the bumper. Now, while bull bars are definitely useful off-road and stuff, normally I'm not a fan of how aggressive some of them look. I think this one looks really, really good. It really isn't that aggressive. It kind of seamlessly goes with the bumper. And personally me, I, on the side of my truck, have rock sliders, which is also made of DOM steel tubing. Kind of overall, when you look at my truck, this matches the sides. But obviously, main intent here is to protect the grille when you're going off-roading, so it's a nice feature to have. Now, in terms of more functionality, as you can see, you have these two D-ring recovery points on each side. These are welded onto your bumper. You can add D-shackles on each one if you want. You can use them as tie-down points. And it's nice that they included this feature because with this steel bumper, I actually had to remove my OEM hook over here. I still retained this one on this side, if you can see, but I had to remove this one because it did not clear the bumper. But despite the fact that I had to remove it, I got two new tie-down points. Now, I'm about to tell you one of the coolest features I think about this bumper, and I don't think I've ever seen another bumper on the market, at least for Tacomas, that has this feature. So you can't even see it, but on the side here, there are actually a couple of different holes. And these holes are there so that you can add extendable wings, and you can essentially extend this steel bumper all the way out to the full width of your Tacoma's bumper. So that is a really cool design aspect. Basically, anyone who buys this bumper has the ability to just buy the extendable wings later on if they don't know if they want a full width bumper yet, and just add them on later. Now, of course, you're gonna have to cut this part of the bumper to add those, but that's what you have to do for any full width Tacoma bumper. So you could do what I did and just get the base bumper and have the option to add wings later, which I'm not really opposed to, or you can straight out of the gate get this plus the two wings on the side and get your full width bumper. So aside from that really cool feature of the ability to add a full width bumper later just by adding on two pieces to this already existing bumper, I absolutely love the design of this bumper. I think it's a great looking bumper. I know that's subjective, but I think they knocked it out of the park with the design of this, on top of making it super customizable, the ability to add wings, the protection, and on top of that, installing this bumper doesn't interfere with any of the safety stuff on the Tacoma. So this radar is completely uncovered, and if you have the TRD Pro grill where the radar sits a little bit lower, it is still uncovered. All your safety features will still work. Last note about the design of this Four Wheel Parts new front bumper. Based on talking to a couple of different employees from just like going into the stores, this new Tacoma bumper, along with like the extendable wings and everything, was designed by a female designer at Four Wheel Parts. So that is awesome. I'm not sure if she'll ever see this video, but from one female to another, you did a fantastic job in terms of looks, functionality, and customizability. So like I said before, Four Wheel Parts did send this bumper to me. However, I was looking at this exact bumper before they even reached out to me. They recently just came out with a whole new line of awesome new Tacoma products, and this was one of them. And just because of how modular this thing is and how customizable this thing is, I wanted one for my Tacoma anyway, so I think I would have purchased this myself if they didn't send it to me. But regardless, I love it. I love that you can put different things on and take different things off and just do whatever you want with it. And I think, honestly, this is the most customizable front aftermarket bumper for the Tacoma on the market, or at least the one that I've seen. Along with how good it looks personally to me, I love it. Now I will say the only downside to this bumper, and really any other aftermarket steel bumper that you're gonna put on your Tacoma, is that the installation process, if you're doing it yourself, is quite a bit of work. Be prepared to spend a good amount of your day installing your front bumper if you choose to do it yourself. It took me 5 hours plus filming, so quite a bit of time. And not only that, this thing is 80 pounds, so it's quite heavy, especially if you do it by yourself. In the next part of this video, I'm going to be showing you guys the entire installation process so you can follow it if you picked up one of these bumpers, or if you're curious to see what it takes to install one of these. But yeah, I would say the only downside is really the installation, because it's time consuming and heavy. However, if you don't want to do the installation yourself, you can go to your local Four Wheel Parts store and they offer installations for their bumpers. Anyways, thank you so much to 4-Wheel Parts for sending me over this bumper. I have always loved 4-Wheel Parts. Whenever I go into one of their stores, they always price match parts, which I really, really like. And then I've also heard from other people that if you buy a couple of different parts, if you're building up your truck, you can negotiate a deal with them. So that is really cool. So I like 4-Wheel Parts for a lot of my truck parts. That's actually where I got my Fox shocks from, by the way. But anyways, if you're curious on seeing the install part of this video, let's just get right into that right now. Okay, so first steps is to detach this plastic pin over here, and there's another one right here with your needle nose pliers. Now you'll have access to a wiring harness for the front grille sensor, and you want to disconnect that. Then you're going to remove these two 10mm bolts right here. Then I forgot to mention that you'll also need a plastic trim removal tool or a flathead to remove this plastic clip right here, and there's another one on the other side that's just like it that you'll need to remove. Then we're going to unmate this harness, which is for the fog lights. Then there's 4 plastic clips along the bumper over here that we're going to remove. Then we're also going to remove this plastic clip, which is also on each side. And then another plastic clip to remove the radiator support. Now, near the wheel well, we're going to remove part of the fender flare, so we're going to have to remove this bolt and then this plastic clip. Now we're going to detach the fender flare from the bumper. Then underneath the truck there are 6 more 10mm bolts we're going to have to remove, so that's one right there. Here is another one. And then just above my skid plate there is another one right here, and then the same 3 are along the other side as well. The only 2 socket sizes I keep in my truck at all times are my 10mm socket and my 21mm socket. The 10mm one is nice to have for things like this, but the 21mm one is for my lug nuts. And so I have that socket along with a torque wrench just in case I need to change a tire and I can properly torque those lug nuts. So I was able to get it off with a shorter socket. Now to do the same thing on the other side, then we can actually remove this bumper. So last thing we have to remove that I forgot are obviously the fog lights. I just realized that not only do you actually have to remove the fog lights, but you do have to unclip their wiring harness because it's attached to a point on the bumper, and I'm not sure if you can remove that part. So I'm just going to unmate their wiring harness. Alright, so I got my Bajas resting on my headlights, and by the way, these Bajas, I think I've been running them for about a year now, and they're absolutely awesome. They're honestly my go-to for lighting, and soon I'm going to get a pair of Squadrons, which are the exact same series as these fog lights, for my new bumper. Although the only Baja Designs lights I have on my truck are the fog lights, Baja Designs is really the go-to brand for off-road lighting. I do have a discount code for 10% off anything on their website, which I'll have linked down below if you're interested. Anyways, it's time to remove the bumper. Now we're going to remove this impact absorber, which we just honestly have to kind of unclip. There's a couple of different spots where this clips into, and you just kind of have to look and see and kind of feel around to figure out how to take this piece off. Next, we're going to have to remove this reinforcement bracket. So I'm going to loosen up all the nuts and then eventually remove it. So I'm using a 14mm socket for these ones and my breaker bar. This metal bracket is also clipped onto part of the inner fender. We're going to have to loosen these 3 nuts over here. Basically, the whole reason we removed the reinforcement bracket and everything else after the bumper is because we're gonna have to relocate a power steering cooler line. So 4-Wheel Parts gives us the brackets for those, and we're gonna relocate them right now. So first off is to remove this bolt right here, which is a 12mm. Then there's another bolt back here. We're gonna have to do the same thing too. Next up, we have to pull this cover back in the wheel well so that we can put the new power steering cooler bracket in. Now we're going to remove this 12mm bolt which holds the bracket in place. And this piece from our 4-Wheel Parts kit will fit just like this, and the bracket will go back here now. I'm going to put this bolt back so that the bracket will stay in place. Now we're going to use one of the provided 4-Wheel Parts bolts, nuts, and washers. So when you're done with that step, the new bracket should be located over here when it was previously over there. Next up, we're going to install these power steering cooler brackets, and you can see that one is marked P and one is marked D. So make sure you pick the appropriate side for each bracket. I'm going to start with the passenger side. You might be able to see that in each of these brackets there's a small bend, and you want the bend facing the engine bay. And then use our new bolt and washer and nut to secure it in place. Okay, so now you should have your new 4-Wheel Parts bracket over here. So you're going to line that up with the old holes. Next up, we're going to remove this tow hook and this crash bar. I'm starting on the passenger side, so I'm going to remove these 3 bolts. We're going to do the exact same thing on the driver's side. So now we're going to move on from the truck to the bumper. As you can see, we have this black plastic piece right here, or the valence panel, and obviously we're going to have to remove that in order to put on the new 4-Wheel Parts bumper. So there's a couple of clips that hold it in place. There's one right here, and then there's a bunch along over here. Alright, now it's time for the most terrifying part of this install, at least for me. We're going to start cutting the bumper. Remember, safety first. So here's what I did so far. I mean, I can't really tell with the blue tape, but this is the cleanest I could get. I'm pretty happy so far. I'm a little bit nervous about these bends, so we'll just do our best for that, but so far so good. Cody! Hi, Cody. I don't want you in here with all the burning plastic. And here it is. So, post-cut, I think I did a pretty decent job. Definitely along the straight it was fine, and this side wasn't too bad. I think I have to sand a lot of this down. I did cut a little bit extra here, as you can see, but I think that won't be too much of a big deal, especially because we're gonna have rubber EPDM all over this, so it's not too bad. I kind of made the same mistake on this side because my cutoff wheel is a little bit big. I don't have a Dremel. A Dremel would be ideal for this, but I went with what I had. I got a little bit sloppy on this side. I think I got overconfident after I did this side and it wasn't too bad, but hopefully sanding along with the EPDM will help. Again, we're gonna sand all this off, so hopefully it looks better. So even though you can probably even see on camera from slightly far away that the cuts and the sanding aren't quite perfect yet, it'll all be covered up with this. So they give you the exact amount you need, and the tolerances are pretty tight. So if you're starting from kind of an edge like this, like me, instead of at the end over here, make sure you measure out how far it is, because you're not gonna have excess to really cut off, or at least from what I've measured so far. So as you can see so far, I'm trying to do my best to line the top part with where this bend is in the body line. Okay, so this is the after with the EPDM installed. I did my absolute best to get a straight line up here, and I think I did a decent job. Luckily the curves look good, so I'm really happy with it, and you can't really tell unless you're super close up. Also, on this side, I started right here from where the EPDM started. And on this side, you can see I have only about an inch left. So I'm gonna cut that, but just know you only have about an inch of margin to work with. I just remounted our fog lights, so now I'm gonna make sure to reconnect all the harnesses. All right, so we're finally at the point where we can start adding accessories to our bumper. Now, depending on what accessory you're gonna add, you may need to start on the truck, but for me, like I said before, I'm just adding in these temporary cube lights, so I'm gonna start on the bumper. These Procom cube lights that I have specifically kind of have this ditch light bracket over here. The 4-wheel parts bumper has a corresponding spot to mount these, so I'm gonna put these on before we put the bumper on the truck. So as you previously saw, there's two 4-wheel parts logo. There's one at the top, and then there's one kind of cut out at the bottom. For the bottom one, since it's cut out, you'll still always be able to see it, but you can remove this backing plate, which is like flat gray cement colored, but you can't remove the top logo from the back over here with a 10mm socket. Now, I kind of like the way this cement gray one looks, so I'm keeping that over there, but I am removing the top logo because I'm gonna run my license plate. So as you can see now, here is the 4-wheel parts logo. This is how it was held on. Cody, don't just stand there, help me. Alright, so we did a little bit of a tricky maneuver there. Now let's see if I can get them up onto the threads. So after a couple of fails, as you may have seen, I've decided to try to drop the skid plate. So I'm going to loosen up 2 bolts up here and then 2 bolts in the middle. That was painful, but putting one nut on, just show you guys what I'm doing without holding this up the whole time. So that was quite the workout of the day. Obviously there needs to be some adjustment and the EPDM came off. But basically what I was doing is I was getting the bumper to line up onto these threads over here. And here's the other side. You can see I put one nut on each side. There's definitely some room for adjustment, as you can see, but this thing is freaking heavy. Definitely recommend 2 people getting it done, but 1 person is possible. So we got a couple more steps before we're finished. Right now we're going to go underneath the truck where we took off the crash bar. We are going to slide this little plate or shim into there. Then we're going to take this piece, which we got in the 4-wheel parts kit also, into there. And if you can see, there's these 2 holes here that we're going to have to use those plates. And this is just an extra place we can reinforce the bumper. So now that all of the nuts and bolts are in place for our brand new 4-wheel parts bumper, it's time to torque all of them down. So the great thing is that the instructions have all of the torque specs, but for these nuts on the inside, I'm going to be torquing them to 45 foot-pounds. Next, we need to torque our bottom bolts for our bumper to 75 foot-pounds. We also have to make sure to put this cover back in place on the passenger side wheel well. And if you don't have a front winch and you decide to run a front license plate, since the only thing you have here is holes, you'll have to use nuts and bolts. So you have to use your hand underneath and you have to get in through the winch hole. If you have any other questions, make sure you leave them in the comment section down below and I'll be sure to answer them if I can. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it helpful if you were following along during the installation process, or if you just wanted to see some options for some aftermarket bumpers out there. Thanks again to 4-Wheel Parts for sending over this really awesome, cool new product. I am super excited to have this running on my truck and I can't wait to use it on the trails. If you guys want to get more live updates with me, you can follow me on my Instagram at ChloeKuoTaco. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, as always, please leave them in the comment section down below. But I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.